my notes. Yeah. Would you like to take a minute on those?
I'll get cracking. First question was about what we would do with the issue of homelessness. And I commute to work, and this is it's actually almost becoming an endemic. There's more and more people every day that I see in the city centre that are homeless. And this is 2016, this shouldn't be occurring. So I think we can tackle homelessness the same way we can improve the housing across the city. And that is more social housing being built, not owned by private landlords, but owned by the council itself, in which we would have to provide provisions. We have to care for people. If we're not paying our taxes to care for people, what are we actually paying our taxes for? What defines us as British people? Or what do we want to define us as British people? The second question about national support. Well, I don't think there's going to be much economic support from the National Party, of course. But I think, going back to Anne's very first question, I think if the National Party could provide us with support to help us be in the media, how to speak, perhaps how to write our leaflets, that would be welcome support. But we are Manchester Green, we need to carve out our own identity at the same time, much as we need to carve out Manchester's identity, the North West identity, at the same time. And as far as Andy Burnham giving a run for his money, well, we're going to have to be bringing our A game, aren't we? I don't think he is a shoo-in, of course. This is a Labour town. He's the Labour candidate. But we can go out there and we can attack. We can be a party that acts instead of reacts. So we can come out and we can go all guns blazing and say, this is what we think, this is how it should be, rather than waiting until he says something and we go, oh, well, this is how we feel about this. You're wrong because of this. If we make the first statement, and we are very loud digitally, because of the financial situation, the Central Party can't really provide us with any funds. I envisioned this campaign being primarily a digital campaign, and so we need to use digital media and act first, not react.
Great, okay. Tinka.
Okay, housing and homelessness. On homelessness, there's a pilot project called Housing First, and the idea is that the first thing you do is you provide a home for a homeless person, and then you try and deal with all the other problems. That's shown to work quite well, I think, in the States, and it's being piloted by, I think, Shelter in Manchester, so I would encourage the development of that, the rolling out of that in the city, and then also, but just in general, I would encourage the expansion and development of the voluntary sector in Manchester and Greater Manchester in general. They are trying to fill the gaps that councils aren't able to anymore, and that's one way of addressing it. So that on the one side, and then also there's the £300 million housing fund, which is currently focused on private development. It should be pivoted to focus on social housing development. The more social housing we have, the less chance people have of losing their homes in general, because the private sector is just not secure. In terms of London, the London campaign, well, you know, this devolution event is a national event. So Central Office should be providing us with both funding and personnel and expertise. I understand that it's happening in Manchester, but it is a national event, so it should be treated as such. And finally on this, this should be a team effort. It shouldn't just be the person standing for mayor. It should be a team effort, not just a single person being in front of the cameras. Everyone who wants to be able to stand to say something and promote the message should be able to do that. And Burnham, I know you're being sure, but on the one hand, it is a strong Labour area, but that being the case, there are the pluses and minuses of the Labour record on the region, and we should call him out on it. He's going to be... Okay, fine.
Just at the end of our time, but I welcome all the candidates to come back to that topic. So we now have Emma Sarah Van Dyke.
Well, there have been studies in America that have proven statistically and conclusively that the best way to deal with homelessness is to just give them a home. That it is cheaper, you don't have to pay for policing to move them on, you don't have to pay for any of the health concerns that crop up from living rough. All of this has been proven in America in studies. So I agree with what David has said about this. I have never heard of this project before, but it sounds brilliant. As for national support, well, this devolution deal is happening in other city regions across the UK, and it is something that I think we should all work on together. So I think that it should be a national effort to get everybody campaigning for all of the devolution issues, not just Greater Manchester. And this is a campaign issue. We can do it on social media. We can do it with national resources to get into the mainstream media. Being a candidate will actually increase our chances of getting into the media, the mainstream. So that will help the party's goals in the long run as well. As for Andy Burnham, well, I think the best way to give him a run for his money is to present ourselves as an alternative, completely different from the status quo, from what Labour or the Tories or UKIP are offering. We are offering a caring city. We're offering connected policies. We have been working on a thorough manifesto for this, and this is something that if we can present it right in our campaigning, then I believe that it will give us a good standing and that we will have a chance to at least give him a run for his money.
Okay, great. Thanks. And Will Patterson.
Well, I think I've hit the curse of the last word here because I think everyone's said pretty much what I agree with. I'd especially echo what Dacre and Emma have said about housing and homelessness. You start by giving them a home. You see, for instance, the likes of Sir Richard Leach trying to actually criminalise the homeless rather than homelessness. You see in Wigan Town Centre banning orders against begging because it's ruining people's shopping experience. Well, if you think the shoppers are having a bad day, try being the guy with the coffee cup in the hand. And that's what the angle we need to take here. We need to prioritise social housing. We need to make sure that that's part of the spatial framework. We need to actually reach out not just to councils who've abandoned their social housing priorities, but work with charities and work with housing associations the same. And I think above all, we need to tackle the stigma that seems to have emerged with rental housing, because certainly since the days of right to buy, renting a house you're seen as less of a person for doing that, and we need to tackle that stigma first and foremost. In terms of support from the National Party, I think Adam nailed it when he said there's not going to be much financial support on offer, but there are practical things that can be done. For instance, we've got the green memes team that we can work with to actually get our social media profile up. Finally, in terms of Andy Burnham, well, he was assumed for the 2015 leadership election, wasn't he? The fact is, as Dacre said, he's got a record to scrutinise. And the thing is, Andy Burnham has said something interesting. He said that Westminster has failed Greater Manchester. I think he's right. But he's been part of that failure for 15 years, so let's call him out on it. And finally, let's not forget, Andy Burnham isn't from the Westminster village, he's from the north. I think I can out-northern him any day of the week.
So we're going to have more questions. Just to break this up a little bit, I'm just going to say what Green Party are currently doing in terms of structure and organisation for this election. So we have the Greater Manchester Green Party's Forum, and so GMGPF, and the forum's been meeting for way over a year, and it has 2 reps formally for each of the 10 Green Parties. We have 10 local Green Parties, roughly corresponding to 10 councils. And anyone can attend those meetings, and so I would invite others to join them. And we formed a messenger group, which is part of Facebook. And we're just on the verge now of releasing a Facebook group as well. And obviously there will be a whole media initiative on the social media to host the manifesto. So the group has already been developing a manifesto. People in this room have been part of that, as well as others. And we really welcome any input. So that's the forum. If you want to call it by a quick name, it's the forum. And it doesn't really have the constitutional existence in Green Party of the other layers. So we have the Northwest layer, which in a way is organising this event today in a formal sense. And your money, when you join the Greens, it goes in 3 layers toward national, regional, and local parties. And the local parties have autonomy. That is the one thing very clear in Greens. It's about decentralisation and local autonomy and and to some extent the Northwest region. But the Northwest region contains many, many more constituency seats than Greater Manchester. So I just wanted to clarify that, and we'll now go to more questions. So can I see those hands again, please? Yeah? Okay, so please.
I'm David Taylor from Mulrange Green Party. I think all the candidates are great, and thanks for all your work. I feel like there's a bit of a consensus coming out that the idea that a low turnout might happen, which could benefit the Green Party, especially if the Labour Party, which is historically dominant, is undermined by Brexit, UKIP, internal squabbling. That gives an opportunity for the Green Party to find some issue to stand apart. And what do you think of the idea of using public transport as a relatively uncontroversial issue that can appeal to people across the board? Because to me,
You mean for the campaign?
for the
Right.
campaign. Because the issue is privatisation of bus and train and tram companies that could have previously been operated by the state or local councils. And most of the problems with public transport, high fares, lack of services, lack of rolling stock on the railways, for example, are all caused by the privatised setup. So,
Okay.
is there some way that we can attack that?
Okay, that's great. That's the first question. Is there another one that I could add to that? Or shall we give them 2 more minutes just on transport? Yes.
Hi, I'm Matt. This is a really practical thing. I've been involved in running certain campaigns, and it's basically about how you manage yourself and priorities. So the question is basically, hypothetically, it's 4 days before the election. The leaflets aren't being distributed properly. You need to be in 7 places at once, and you're feeling very stressed out. What do you do?
Okay, great. That's great. Yeah, we'll have a third question. Did you ask one before?
Yeah, I did, yeah.
Oh, shall we take someone who hasn't? Is it okay?
That's fine.
Thanks,
Sort
Mark.
of linked to that question really, I'd like to ask about the process, once the person is selected, about the process of how they would go about then establishing themselves, what they might see as priorities to do during the first few months when they are selected, practically.
Yeah. Okay, so we're going to pause it there and just hold your other questions. Now this time, my first speaker is going to be Data. So, take your time. Take your time.
I can say that now. Okay, thanks for your questions. Just on the earlier part of your question, I don't believe in low turnouts and encouraging it. I just don't think that benefits us. We shouldn't go in that direction. We should always look to engage most people. Just that simply. Just in terms of transport, I think that's a good idea. I think that some aspects of transport are coming back under public control in Manchester. I think we should encourage that. And then also, for myself, I'd like to see a huge extension of the tram network, not just to areas of economic development, but where populations are, no matter how rich or poor they are. Second question, 4 days before the election. Let's see, that would be a case of what do we need doing, what resources do we have, and then what do we do first, and then just run it through. 4 days before the election, there isn't that much you're going to be able to do, so really it's just going to be as simple and as difficult as that.
I think there was a question about managing yourself.
Oh, right. That would be a case of, in that particular case, it really would be a case of clearing the decks and working with the team that you have around you. If it's 4 days to go and you're committed to the cause, that's all you're going to be thinking about. And while the mayor or the candidate is the figurehead, it really is going to be a case of what the team thinks is the best thing to do, you know, using their knowledge and abilities as well to make that decision and then get the practical work done.
Okay, great.
So
Emma,
it's
Sarah,
thinking
Linda?
of-
Pardon me? Oh, I'm sorry, I thought you already answered the third one.
Oh,
You spoke about process.
first few months,
Good.
do you feel there was an answer there? Or?
I'll let you answer.
Right. So first few months, assuming that we have a green mayor.
No, I mean during your candidacy.
Oh,
I
right.
wasn't clear, sorry,
Yeah.
in what I said. I mean, if you've been selected here,
Yeah.
what do you see as your priorities? You know, in the first few months, they're leading down to Christmas.
Right. Okay. Well, for me, it would be first thing would be to do with would be to be clear on what our key message is going to be, and then seeing what resources we have, and if we've got some money and a team available, that's going to determine how far that message is going to go, and then working out what we think our targets are going to be between now and the end of the year, and then having a review. If we feel it's working, great. If we don't feel it's working, then there's still time to change track and try something else.
Okay, great. Right. So next answer we use is Emma Sarah Van Dyke.
Okay, well, I have to agree about low turnout. We shouldn't be encouraging that. What we should be doing is seeking out the people that are disenfranchised, that aren't likely to vote, and trying to show them our policies and convince them that we should be the candidate that they're voting for. I believe that this disenfranchised group are actually our target demographic, people we want to get the most. So that is part of how I see the campaign going. If I can answer these other two questions in opposite order, please. The campaign process. I think the most important thing is having a strong campaign team that is communicating with itself properly and getting out there and speaking to the public and finding out what the issues are that we need, that the public has the most interest in us campaigning on before we finalize our campaign. I think that that's the most important way to do it. 4 days before the election is May bank holiday. I'd be at Star Wars Fan Fun Day with green lightsaber. I'm not even joking. I do that. Campaign stress. That is actually my best way of dealing with stress, is to let outlet in that kind of fantasy. So the most important thing if that situation arose would again be communication, trying to find out what the rest of the team can do to try and resolve the issues that are going on at that stage. So yeah.
Okay, great. Will Patterson.
You know, I'm not even the last one to go on this one, and already I'm agreeing with what everyone else has said.
Want to bring lightsaber too?
Yeah, why not? Although in fairness, I probably would be with an athletic game, which might not be quite as useful. But I certainly agree with what Dacre and Emma have said on terms of low turnout. Low turnout is never good. It's never good for any one candidate. It's never good, full stop. But of course, we should be actually engaging on public transport, and I believe the combined authority does have powers in terms of regulation, particularly in terms of the bus network. So we should be looking towards that, and we should be pushing for that. And again, as Dave said, we should be more ambitious in terms of the Metrolink network. We should have a vision of a Metrolink that runs from Shevington to Saddleworth, quite simply, from west to east across the borough, from north to south as well, across all of Greater Manchester, excuse me. Because quite frankly, I do live in a borough that has been overlooked by most of the major transport projects, whereas you see most of the Metrolink expansion happening. And while all of that's being built up, while there are services being increased across Greater Manchester, it seems, we've had our night buses cut, we have had our services to the Manchester Piccadilly and Manchester Airport cutting services, and just with services to Victoria in their place, that's coming soon. But don't worry, we've got a guided busway that goes as far as Leigh. So, in the 15 seconds that I've got left, I'll try and answer Margaret and Matt's question together. Basically, if we do your bit right, Margaret, we don't end up in your situation. So, first thing I do, one, get the crowdfunding ready, get on film for that to actually get the begging bowl out and get the money in. 2, get myself introduced to the local press. 3, work with the manifesto group and work with the comms group to get the strategy in place. And 4, get myself embedded with all the local parties target to win candidates to use the structures that we already have. In our sort of nascent target to win structure that we've got in Wigan, we actually had a plan, we had action days every weekend leading up to the election, we had the leaflets ready, we had the team, 4 days to the election, everything was absolutely fine, and I could actually put my feet up for a day and it was bliss. So if we do the planning right, we don't have the panic. And it's all about stress avoidance at the end of the day.
Okay, and we have one more to answer this. Adam?
Yeah, so as far as the low turnout goes, I'm going to have to echo everyone else. I would rather lose in 100% turnout than win in a 20% turnout. I mean, we strive for democracy at the end of the day, and that is truly democracy. You did mention public transport, and I think I've already answered that public transport is what I would like to leave as my green legacy. I do think that would improve the lives of Manchester. I do understand that the Metrolink line is private, so the only way that we're going to improve it is by spending a lot of money on it. So if we could bring that under, or try and bring it under some of our control, then expansion becomes a lot simpler. And my final response is, we have 4 days left. Well, I was 23 years old when I mentioned that I owned a business in town. I was 23 years old when I wrote a business plan. I'm a scientist. I'm a very, very organised man. So I would already be. That would never happen. And if it did happen, I'm very quick thinking on my feet. I would manage to sort that out. However, I would be pressing more of a digital campaign as opposed to a leafleting campaign, simply to move us into the future, which is what we should be aspiring to do, moving into the future using free platforms to promote ourselves. And my priorities, the first one would be to set a team together. That's number 1. The second one would be to try and raise cash. Because without cash, we are only left with a digital campaign. That's all we're left with. The third would be, again, as a scientist, I love my research, so we'd have to conduct thorough research against everything that we're going to say, everything that we can say, and also against our opponents, because this is a national election. We should know everything about our opponents, the weaknesses, so on and so on. And then after that, promotion, self-promotion, team promotion, green promotion, until the end of the campaign.
Great. Okay, thank you very much. Yeah, I did find out a little bit about this. One of the reasons why we've made the effort to do Facebook streaming today is that